Hello everyone, I'm Caroline Chen, and today I have the pleasure to share with you some of my experiences of studying in the US and applying to college. I will be going over everything in three parts: my background, studying abroad as an international student, and some college-specific topics. Throughout this talk, I will also interweave the questions from the Q&A session into different parts. To begin, a little about me. I was born and raised in Xi'an, China, the city with terracotta army, and I moved to the US at the beginning of 8th grade with my family. This fall, I'll be attending the University of Pennsylvania and majoring in computer science at the School of Engineering and Applied Sciences. In my free time, I enjoy watching movies, cooking, and traveling. Going on to why and how am I interested in computer science. So first, a brief description of what computer science is. It is the study of computational systems and ways to deal with information or data. Some popular concentrations of computer science over the years include machine learning, human-computer interaction, privacy and security, and of course, software engineering. And this leads me to our first question from the Q&A. Why did you choose your major or pathway? So I have discovered my interest in CS since probably primary school when I was first introduced to computers in information technology classes. However, looking back from today, what I learned from those classes, which is basically how to use Photoshop and how to create social media accounts, has nothing to do with what I will major in now. After my family moved to the US when I was in 8th grade, my passion for computer science slowly started to grow as I took more CS-related courses like Intro to Programming and some APCS classes. In my senior year, I also took some college-level CS courses at a college near my high school and confirmed that I wanted to pursue computer science as my future career. At the same time, the potential of computer science is another aspect of why I want to pursue this path. The application of computer science to many other fields gave rise to various interdisciplinary studies, which have been very popular in recent years in both the world of academia and business. And to answer the second question, what are your favorite and least favorite parts of your major or pathway? Well, my favorite part of computer science will definitely be its infinite possibilities and the interdisciplinary natures, as currently computer science has a lot of combined studies with other subjects. While I don't really have a least favorite part, I would say that certain existing biases deter many talented females from entering the field, which is also quite common for other STEM-related areas. And that is also why I co-founded a STEM-focused club called Hello World at my school that aims to assist more female students to explore their potential in STEM. Now moving on to the second part, my experience of studying and living in the US as an international student. As many of you might have heard from other international students, the transition to a new culture, new country, and a new community, it's definitely not easy, not to mention learning a new language if you are just like me, who didn't systematically learn any real practical English. I still remember the first morning meeting I had in my middle school here in the US. I couldn't understand any complete sentence that our head of school would say. It was quite traumatizing, and I would never be able to do it without the support of my family and friends. So here comes the first piece of advice for anyone who wants to study abroad at a relatively young age. Always be prepared and expect challenges. It is so important to have a support system, whether it be parents, friends, or even teachers. Having someone to talk to is always nice. Now going back to the story, it took me about 2 trimesters to adapt to the new school, not the environment, only the school and the academics, meaning that I was finally able to understand lectures, able to ask teachers questions, etc. However, life at school, it's quite different than real life, so I was still having difficulties in things like chatting with people about American pop culture or ordering foods in restaurants. But it's okay, those things gets easier over time, so don't stress yourself too much. When I entered high school, I adapted pretty well thanks to that 1 year in 8th grade, which I now consider a very important transition. And I would recommend students to plan ahead with their academic goals just like that. Fast forward to my junior and senior year, as you might have heard about the last 2 years in high school, the pressure gets really intense sometimes. And to answer the third question, what does your workload look like? Well, my schedule during the academic years could be a little crazy, as I tried to challenge myself with the most advanced courses available. During junior year, in addition to the 7 to 8 classes I had at school, I also took 3 other AP classes and a quantum computing course online. Senior year, I was in the high school program of Princeton University, through which I took college-level computer science courses. So in general, my workload is pretty intense during the school months, and on top of that, I also involve myself in many research projects or summer programs during the summers. And finally, to our last and most important part of the session, applying to college. And I'll start with questions from the Q&A. How did you make a college list? And how many colleges did you apply to? For making a college list, I suggest doing a lot of research before applying to any school. In addition to the basic stats and everything, focus on things that you resonate the most with the schools. Well, because of COVID, I didn't actually get any opportunity to visit any campus in person, but I tried to imagine myself being a student at a particular school and tried to feel if I liked that. And in total, I applied to about 20 schools, got into around 11 of them, waitlisted by 5, and rejected by 4, if I did the math correctly. Do you have any tips on essay writing for personal statements and supplemental essays respectively? Yes, I do have quite a few. First, start as early as possible. This is so important. I know a lot of people who start their essays as early as around the spring break of junior year, which is about April or March. So yes, that's how early you could start and you won't be wrong. Second, write everything down for your first draft and gradually develop the final version from that. So for when you start writing the essays, don't let the word count scare you. You don't have to limit yourself to the 600 words or 650, I can't remember. But instead, write every detail down, record all your thoughts into that one doc, and then afterwards you can delete the unimportant things. Together, the whole college application, including the essays, the activity list, the honors, they should tell a story of who you are, and please be real about that, because people can tell if you are just making it up for the sake of applying to colleges, and real stories can really move people. Do not repeat from the activity list because we don't want to be redundant. And lastly, most importantly, planning is key. Planning is key. I can't stress that enough. What do you perceive to be the most important part of the college application process? As I said, planning. In general, planning is the most important, which includes and extends to making a college list, deciding in what order you will apply, what schools to give the early opportunities to, what activities to include on the Common App, and in what order, etc. So basically, every piece of your college application should be planned ahead. And I suggest going over every detail over and over again as early as the end of your junior year, which could be when you reach out to teachers for recommendations. There's always something in the Common App that my friends and I think could be done better. So it definitely helps to be more cautious. What was your GPA and SAT or ACT score? Do you think they played a large part in your application? So I had a GPA of 3.24 out of 3.33, and that's just how my high school calculated. However, I didn't submit my GPA to any college because I only learned about my GPA after all the results are out. This is because our school has this policy to protect all students against any disadvantages. Since we only have about 30 students in a grade, we don't want any ranking to deter anyone from their college application. And for SAT, I only took SAT because after trying both SAT and ACT, I do find SAT working out better for me. And I had a super score of 1550 with 750 on the reading and writing and 800 for math. So as I said, I had a super score, and how that works is that I submitted 2 different SATs, and the colleges will take the highest scores from both of my sessions and combine them into one score. And for APs, I had a total of 12 APs, and about 9 of them I got 5s. I might have to double check on that. But I had AP Physics 1, AP Psychology, AP CSA, AP Calculus BC with a AB5 subscore, AP Physics C Mechanics, and AP Physics C Electricity and Magnetism. However, I did only got a 4 on E&M. APUSH, AP Chem, AP CSP, AP Bio. So that's about it. As of their importance, because when I applied, the standardized testing was still optional, and the colleges especially said that not submitting scores won't put any students to their disadvantage. So I'd say they're not too important in my application. I do know some students who didn't submit any scores and still got into top colleges, so that really shouldn't worry you. However, policies might vary from year to year, so please double check on the website of colleges that you're interested in applying. What hobbies or extracurriculars did you focus on during high school? Overall, I had a strong emphasis on community service, my CS background, and gender activism during high school. I am the co-founder and president of the Hello World Club that we talked about before, that STEM club that works on equal access to technology opportunities for all students, especially female students. I was the president of the International Student Affinity Group, the vice president of the Science National Honor Society, the secretary of the Mu Alpha Theta Honor Society, and the head of the Chinese club at my school. I also volunteer at local organizations like the Down Syndrome Association of Central New Jersey, and I also play tennis. However, I stopped playing it for senior year. What study tips do you have for students to do well in school? Well, I recommend students to try out different paths when they are in 9th or 10th grade, like an earlier phase of high school, and experiment with different options to find out the one that best fits them, and then focus on that one and excel. Again, planning is everything. So one trick or one thing I do for my high school, or more specifically planning the courses that I will be taking in the 4 years, is that I start from the destination, or like my goals for senior year. So I will be planning out the courses that I want to take or complete when I graduate or in senior year, and then I would backtrace the prerequisites out from that. So it's just, again, planning. It's everything. If you ever did research or worked an internship, how did you come across this opportunity? So my school offers this Leadership in STEM endorsement, which requires students to take certain numbers of STEM-related courses and to conduct a research project by the end of their junior year. With the help of my mentors, I worked on a quantum computing research regarding the simulation of spin Z measurements on quantum state. And that's one of the research I submitted to colleges. In addition, I also had a few other research experiences through summer programs, year-long programs, and several self-conducted research, such as the summer science program, the Stanford China Scholars Program, and the IBM Quantum Computing course. To conclude, I would like to thank LingoX and Mia for this amazing opportunity to share my story with you and talk to you all. Many of you may currently be going through the college application process or are preparing for it. Always remember that everything that you do at this moment will help you in the future. Wish you all the best, and feel free to reach out to me for any other questions. Thank you!